From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today, I'll be reviewing the movie Alpha and Omega, released in 2010. Starring Hayden Panettiere, Christina Ricci, and Justin Long. Directed by Anthony Bell and Ben Gluck. The synopsis is: two wolves from different classes in their societies are brought together as they journey to return home and save their world. The story. The original story was written by Steve Moore, and later he and Chris Denk wrote the screenplay. In my opinion, the story is the strongest element in the film and most likely the reason why so many Hollywood industry actors signed on. The story starts out simple, but then it gets a little complicated. At first, it's a forbidden love theme where there's a class structure of alpha and omega wolves in a pack. The alpha wolves hunt and the omega wolves keep the peace by being jovial and funny. Forbidden love is probably a theme that we've seen a lot. What's different about this is the concept of using the fictional society of wolves. I heard of the term alpha referring to dogs and wolves, the leader of the pack, but never omegas. I thought that this was a pretty cool element, and I'd really never seen or heard of an animated film using this concept that was targeted for kids. Now, despite the coolness of using real hierarchy terms for wolf packs, the real wolf pack societies are much smaller than what is represented in the film, because it would consist of one breeding pair of alphas, a male, a female, and then the rest of the pack would be their children or siblings. The omega would be just the lowest ranked in the pack, who would feed last. It would be the weakest or the outcast, if you will. Now, in the film, being either an alpha or an omega is not based on any kind of family structure or genetics, but some kind of mysterious factor. Because in the royal family in the story, there is an omega in there, and that's Lily. Now, within the story, there are a lot of minor story plots and distracting comedy moments to appeal to children, but it all seems to come together by the end, which makes the story enjoyable for many adults who watch the film. The pacing. At an hour and 30 minutes, the pacing is pretty decent. I just had a few moments where I felt like there were so many cliches that it became quite boring, especially the comedic element that they were trying to impart on the story. I thought that was just, it kind of bored me a lot. The challenge at first are the stupid laws that separate the alpha and omegas, and one of them is that they can't be a romantic couple. The film sets that up right at the beginning, as the pack leader Winston tells Humphrey, who is an omega, that he knows that he's friends with his daughter Kate, who is an alpha, but they can't date. That kind of rhymes there. He can't date Kate. So the next challenge would be the Eastern Wolves and how they are in competition for the valley in this fictional version of Jasper Park in Canada, where the caribou are plentiful. This is an unnecessary squibbling that leaves both packs starving to death. To solve their feud, the pack leader from the East, Tony, demands that Kate marry his son Garth and unite the packs peacefully. Now, if you thought that was enough of a challenge, there's much more. Kate and Humphrey are drugged and taken to Idaho in order to repopulate a different park. Meanwhile, Tony thinks that Winston is hiding his daughter to prevent the unity, and so he intensifies his pressure with the threat of war. You know, one thing for sure is that this film has no shortage of impressive challenges. My empathy. My empathy was really there from the beginning when Humphrey gets a little exposition from Winston about their culture and how he can't continue to bond with Kate. The empathy wavers though when we quickly wonder why he's only after Kate. When Lily, Kate's sister, who is equally cute and dateable, but she's an Omega, she doesn't even register on his radar. It makes you question, why is he attracted to Kate? Is it because he feels as if she's his soulmate? I mean, I don't think he really knows her very well. They don't get to spend a lot of time bonding. Is he attracted to her because she's, the most important asset to the pack's future? And it doesn't help that when Humphrey meets Kate's fiance, Garth, he's just super obnoxious to this guy who simply actually just seems like a nice guy. And he does it because he feels threatened by Garth. I didn't like that at all. It's almost akin to bullying. You don't know someone and you just start making fun of them, and I did not like that aspect. However, let's move on to Humphrey's love interest, Kate. And she's another character with great attributes, but she's not a perfect character. She's the responsible princess character of her clan, who will one day be the ruler of the pack. Kate is super dedicated to her responsibility as an alpha, so when she finds out about the arranged marriage to Garth, she doesn't refuse it like you would expect most princesses to do. She actually takes on the responsibility and actually agrees to do it. And I thought to myself, wow, oh my goodness, this is very different. I was really expecting her to kind of do like an Ariel from The Little Mermaid, like rush off and do something dramatic and dangerous, put everybody in danger, but she doesn't. But then, suddenly, just when you think it's possible that she could actually like Garth, if she got to know him better, she blows him off because he doesn't have an attractive howl. She's pretty shallow, but that plot point actually imparts to the audience that the howling is not just a community thing, but it's actually more of an intimate custom between soulmates and the harmony that happens when people love each other. The empathy for the two main characters returns when Kate finds herself with Humphrey on their adventure together. They really learn how to work as a team. It's only really near the end that you get that big love story between the two of them, and it actually delivers. There's also a side love story between Garth and Lily, wherein Lily actually takes the time to teach Garth how to howl, and Garth teaches Lily that she's beautiful both inside and out, and that she shouldn't hide it. The technical aspects. Performances were fully acted out in America and then sent to Mumbai, India to be fully animated. The graphics are pretty blocky and unrefined, but it's pretty stylized for a kids' animation. The wolves, on the most part, are designed to move on all fours, mimicking the movement of real wolves. And that's where the animation really succeeded. Where the animation fails is where it had the wolves wearing identifying hairstyles and standing, dancing like humans. It takes you right out of the film. But I'm sure it was something that kids really enjoyed, to see sort of human-like qualities. Now, where I feel like the human elements were well placed, where the film had animated the acting on the characters, and that really was done excellently, allowing us to really feel a sense of the emotional depth and subtleties in each character. I thought that was the one human element that really helps the film strike a very sentimental chord with its audiences of all ages. I also felt as if some of the character designs were really great when the wolves actually looked like real wolves. And I think they achieved that with Humphrey, Winston, and Tony. And another cool aspect were some of the visual imagery that ties the emotional factor, like shadows in various scenes, like the shadow of Humphrey howling while Kate is deciding whether or not to join him for a howl. And I thought that was beautifully done. I really loved the environments that were animated for the characters to interact with nature. I mean, they weren't realistic, but beautiful art to say the least. The soundtrack was pretty incredible, using the howling riffs to anchor the story. The performances, in my opinion, were most incredible element of this film. Without these incredible actors, this film wouldn't be really watchable. We have Justin Long, who lends his unique comedic talents to his voice of Humphrey, and it works so well for his character. Hayden Panettiere voiced Kate, capturing her young, youthful charisma. I was pretty blown away to hear the voices of Danny Glover and Dennis Hopper in this film during my first viewing, and it really gives the film a more memorable texture. Danny Glover voiced Winston, playing the patriarch of the Western Pack and providing great emotional reactions to the events in the story. The film was dedicated to the memory of Dennis Hopper, as it was his last movie role before we lost this great American actor. He voiced the leader of the rival pack, Tony, and posing a real threat in the story. Many of his lines were really powerful and leave a lasting impression on many audience members. It was definitely wonderful hearing his voice acting in this role. The best part of the film, though it didn't make sense, I loved the bear chase scene. I thought that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the subplot of the two wolves, Garth and Lily, falling in love with each other in tandem with Kate and Humphrey. I really loved the character of Kate's mother, Eve. I wasn't crazy about her design, but I loved how she would always say very threatening dialogue in a very happy and bouncy tone. I mean, that's a mom you just don't want to mess with. The ending was pretty good. We got a bit of bait and switch with Humphrey leaving the pack and coming back just in time to save the pack. And his character gets a nice character arc as he finally learns how to be a hero. And not to mention that Humphrey and Kate actually make a great team as they save Winston and Tony from a sudden caribou stampede. My wish list. I wish the film explained the criteria for being an alpha or an omega wolf, and how do they pick these life-defining positions? Why did Kate have to marry Garth in order to unite the pack? Why not just unite the pack? Let the wolves decide amongst themselves who they'll marry. I thought that was a very contrived and, unnecessary plot point. And then there's also a part in the middle of the film that's really frustrating to watch, when Kate is trying to get home to save the pack and doesn't actually tell Humphrey why. It just kind of breaks my heart when I see this kind of writing, because it just seemed like Humphrey only cared about one thing, and that was being with Kate. And I mean, what about his parents, which we don't know anything about? It didn't work for me psychologically. It didn't work. I'm sure for little kids, they're not going to think about all that. Anyway, the bears who attack Kate and Humphrey seem to understand them to some capacity. So it just kind of made me frustrated. I'm like, well, this whole scene didn't need to happen then. And then last of all, I wish the film was not comedically driven and it was a little bit more serious. One film that did this kind of thing right was The Lion King in 1994. And the film has such a great premise. I feel it's wasted sometimes on the cheap laughs. Enjoyment. The movie didn't do so well at the box office, earning a little over $5 million, but internationally it grossed nearly $51 million. And so besides having a small and growing following with kids and preteens, it's Crest's Animations and Lionsgate's most popular movie. To be honest, I never knew anything about this movie until it kept popping up as a suggestion. But when I saw the poster, I was kind of stuck because the name of it didn't seem advertiser friendly for a mass audience to easily remember. Well, what do I know? Because there are several sequels to Alpha and Omega. It's an entire franchise of movies. Wow, there must be something to these movies that they keep making them, and with even more in development. I haven't seen any of the sequels, but based on some of the thoughts around the internet, this might be the one lightning in the bottle for the franchise. I mean, they haven't been able to get the same Hollywood stars as they had before, and it seems to have an even stronger appeal to preschoolers and grade schoolers. In the beginning, when I was first starting to watch the film, I nearly turned it off because of the blocky animation. It's very jarring to the eye, but after the story began to blossom and I got into it a little bit more, by the end, I've just found myself really enjoying this film, and that it was a complete surprise for me. And I love that. I love when films surprise me. And it's all really due to the acting and the story. They were able to convey something special there. And I personally like the unique qualities about the film. Not only just using the great voice actors, but putting an interesting spin on the animated animal film genre by actually trying to feature a little bit of realism and also being creative with that to the point that it creates a lot of plot points that help move the story along. And I was completely surprised that this film struck a very sweet, sentimental chord with me, so I loved it. My rating is an 8.2. Well, that sums up my review. I hoped you liked it. This is Retro Nerd Girl signing off. Take care, movie lovers. I'm off to my next review.